over to you, Kerry, for your case study.
Oh no, it won't let me. Sorry.
No, no, don't worry, don't worry. I
Hi.
had a double click.
Not well prepared for this, really. Cool. So I'm going to talk you through how I went from a sort of idea about a problem space that I'd identified and sort of validated that through to getting to a point where I had a roadmap that was based around a strategy and getting ready to execute onto actually validating further with a prototype. So I can talk you through the process of how I worked through each stage of getting from one part to another and making sure that I was really driving for value and working through a product process. So this just highlights obviously the process that followed. So looking at a few different objectives and the stages that I worked through. So validating that problem into, can I gain traction with this as an offering, into the strategic planning that I talked about there with being able to kind of consolidate into a roadmap and a vision and direction for this as a product. So what was the problem? One that I've personally faced, but looking at singles in their 30s who find it difficult to connect authentically with others when dating. So as we know, the dating pool is quite wide. There's lots of different apps and pieces that are going on in that space. But I really wanted to hone in on people that were more so looking for something long-term. It's a problem that I kind of identified from talking with friends and felt like there could be something in this as a particular niche of people that are in their 30s and this kind of authentic connection that seems to struggle with apps that really promote around text conversations, for example. So this was my starting point around the problem space that I was looking at. And following that, kind of drove off to really validate it. So back to that original objective, it was, is this actually a real problem or is this just something that I'm, for example, encountering? So one of the key results was to conduct at least 5 discovery calls to really drive into identifying, does this align? Are people experiencing this as a problem? Or is it slightly something different? So keeping those discovery calls really wide open so that we can learn as much as possible, but seeing if I can identify that this is a problem space. So the key results of that were that I actually conducted 7 discovery calls, which I can go into some of the highlights from there. And it was a mix between males and females to try and get both sides of the sort of dating experience and a mix of different ages within their 30s. And really, there was a lot of comments, as you can see, that kind of came out from those sessions with all of the sticky notes. But there were kind of 4 main key takeaways from there. That people were frustrated with the idea of too many options. So with this sort of swipe effect where you've just got pictures, there's just so many options. As one person put it to me, you know, if you were in a bar and someone came up to you, you wouldn't be like, pause the conversation, I'm going to wait to see if anyone better comes in 10 minutes, which is kind of the effect that seems to happen on the apps. The other thing was around it being quite time consuming to keep matching and talking. So there was definitely an element of fatigue that was coming through with what people were saying. It's constantly matching, starting new conversations and rehashing the same conversations with lots of different people, which obviously linked back into the first one. There were just so many options. People found it quite hard to kind of choose and found that element very time consuming. The third one, was around the connection. So this is the area that I felt that was quite strong, is that it's difficult to connect authentically. And this came through with the conversations with people, that they found it difficult to connect through just pictures and a very short bio. There was this element of verification. Not only is the person who they say they are and not a catfish, but also are they kind of the person they present themselves to be, in terms of, you know, just some physical characteristics like height and the weight that they look in their pictures. But also with the bios, are they actually people that are interested in reading and traveling, or are they just writing cliche pieces? So there isn't any data really that you can utilize at the moment to help kind of distill that this person is who they are presenting, and people felt that it's difficult to connect with just this kind of profile and not really knowing who the person is. And then finally, there was this lack of people looking for serious relationships. So quite a few people talked about not really knowing where they stood in terms of, are these people talking to other people? Are they actually looking for the same thing? There's hesitancy with asking people about what they're after on these apps. So there was definitely this idea of, although apps kind of, some of them have now started to say, what are you looking for? People not really necessarily aligning to what they've selected as well. So a strong kind of consensus amongst the group around this lack of people that are actually after a serious relationship. So the second objective was to validate that the offer that I came up with from this actually resonates with that target niche. So following kind of that discovery work and validating that this was a problem space, I came up with a minimal viable offer effectively, and a statement that kind of hopefully would ring true to the target niche. So we help single Londoners in their 30s find their serious relationship. We're going beyond the pictures to create authentic connections, less swiping with tailored matches, and verified profiles also seeking a serious relationship. So taking those key findings and building that into a statement that articulates clearly who we're looking for and what we're trying to offer, and seeing if that resonates with that target niche. So the single Londoners in their 30s that are after this serious relationship and find it difficult to connect authentically. The key results that we were driving for was over 5% outreach to sign-up conversion, differentiation with the Blue Ocean strategy, and then being able to build a product story canvas and a vision up from that. Oh, sorry. So the minimal viable offer, as I just sort of talked you through what that was, this is what I took to creating a landing page that prospective customers could sign up to. I then posted this into a number of different kind of dating channels on Facebook, and some there's an app called Locals, so put it onto there to see if people would sign up, and on my personal network as well. I did have a few sign-ups for that. I think there was around 6 or so. Probably could have tried harder with the marketing, but wanted to see if it did resonate, and it did without pushing it too hard. There were people outside of my own personal network, which was a great indicator to me that there are other people outside of those that I know that are looking for this and do resonate with this statement. Also did the Blue Ocean strategy work that you can see on the side there, looking at some key features that are offered or could be offered through the apps. And as you can see, it's quite a crowded space, but there was definitely opportunities that we could kind of go in and build on. And that being really, how do we push people to connect more authentically, and pushing away potentially from just app-based dating and actually trying to get people to meet in real life, but using the app or some sort of digital means to actually construct that initial relationship to be able to go off and feel confident in meeting the person that you're meeting. So the product vision is around helping singles in their 30s find a serious relationship. So quite straight to it, really. We want to make sure that they can get to that point that they have this serious relationship. And it is targeted to those in those 30s, purely because based on the research that I did, the discovery calls, we did target those that were in their 30s, because it seems to be kind of an age that people are more ready and willing and wanting to settle down, hence the age there. So following on from creating that product vision, wanted to utilize that to really be able to strategically plan and look at how we progress this product further into a successful product that can work for people. So the key results we were driving for were to be able to create a strategic roadmap that would define the direction that the product's heading and be able to align others around this. Following on from that as well, building out a lean canvas that really highlighted and broke down what this product is doing, who we're aiming for, how we differentiate ourselves, and kind of what the revenue models could look like. And lastly, how we would support this direction that we're taking the product in through a team topology. So this is the product, roadmap, the strategic roadmap. This was based off of taking the information from the discovery, looking at what other competitors are doing and how we could really drive for outcomes. So the first outcome being that people want to know and feel confident that the other person is also seeking a serious relationship. So this being a starting point, because whilst the other apps allow you to sort of talk about what you're after, there is still some confusion with people actually wanting a serious relationship. So in order to deliver on that product vision and that validated minimal viable offer, it felt like a good first step based on those to actually really drive for those that are after a serious relationship. So looking at what features or functionality could actually deliver on this outcome. Following on from that, then basing around how we can help people actually understand the authenticity of someone's profile. So if we want people to be able to connect more authentically, how can we bring that person to life, and actually make it so that, you know, you really do get a good sense and initial gauge of a person before actually planning maybe the first meet in real life. And then moving on to how we can have more tailored matches. So really addressing that problem of kind of spending hours swiping and being able to hopefully use data in a much better way to actually provide more specific matches that might target what exactly that person's looking for, and building on that authenticity that someone's brought through to kind of make it so that this matches what you're actually looking for and would connect more authentically in person. And lastly, as a final step for the initial kind of roadmap plans, is looking at how we make people better at dating. So kind of building on all of those pieces. If people are not great at dating, they may not be able to kind of progress through this process very well. So how can we make them more confident, more comfortable in actually dating? How can we make it so that they are engaged and actually getting out there and meeting people, and kind of pushing that as the agenda to keep them on track with their end goal, which is ultimately finding a serious relationship. So from all of the discovery work, the defining the problem space, validating that, building out a strategic roadmap that could lead us in the direction of the outcomes that we want to achieve, built out a lean canvas as well to just highlight exactly how this product kind of at its bare bones would function and run, and what is different about us compared to other apps that you would find in this market space. So the canvas goes into defining what that problem is, so where we find it difficult to connect authentically with others whilst dating. And obviously we can see on there's quite a list of existing alternatives. These are some of the bigger kind of names in the market space, with Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, Thursday, for example. But there's so many different alternatives. So we've pulled out and extracted the key ones that we looked at from the Blue Ocean canvas, just to kind of give us a guiding tool as to where people are actually attracted to and where we see a lot of traction in the market. Ultimately, at its crux, the solution for this is a matchmaking tool. The idea is to be able to get people connected with one another so that they could hopefully find that serious relationship. And that leads into the unique value proposition. We're really targeting those that are actually after a serious relationship, as opposed to just looking to date for a number of different reasons. We want to tone in on those that are specifically after that long-term serious relationship. The unfair advantage that we believe we would have with this would be really focusing on that niche, because it would be specific. And with that, we could then harness the network effects, because those that are kind of looking for a serious relationship and do then find it would be able to talk to those that are in their circle about this, that are also in a similar position and struggling with other dating methods that they're able to go out and do. In terms of the key metrics, we would be looking at users who have gone on at least 2 dates. The reason being, as I said before, we want to get people back out and actually dating in person so they can connect more authentically. So we set 2 as a kind of key milestone objective, because they're getting out there, they're actually trialing it, and they're meeting people, which allows them to really derive the value from the initial stages that we could provide with the matchmaking. Percentage of users going on at least 1 date per month. So again, we want to be able to track that actually people are still getting out there and they are going out, and it's occurring regularly, unless the user has met their match and, you know, has logged off of our system because they're now actually in a serious relationship. Percentage of new users going on at least 1 date in the first month. This is key for our acquisition funnel. We want users to actually activate once we've acquired them. We don't want them to sit there stale and then churn. So we want to drive for them being able to get onto a first date in the first month and actually find the value in our solution. And then users getting at least 1 match per week. Without being able to provide the matches, we're not going to get them onto the date. So these are our key metrics to really monitor and make sure that we can hit, because without these, the ecosystem that we'll be building won't effectively work. The high level concept of this is to find that life partner. So really drilling into serious relationships and how we can help them get there. In terms of how we could look to provide, market this app and the channels that we could use, Social media is probably a key one for us to be able to spread the word relatively quickly and target the niche specifically. So looking at kind of age and location as some geographic measures, but then also looking at like how and what behaviors are associated with these people and being able to also drive it based off of that. And then looking at things simply like tube ads. So if we start with our niche based in London, it's a prime location for people that are out working or visiting and planning stuff with friends to be able to get onto the tube and see ads. So it's a good space that we can actually market from. As mentioned before, just to identify that those customer segments are the singles that are in their 30s and upwards. And the early adopters that we're targeting is the very specific niche that we started out with. So it's those that are in London. I'm mostly looking at successful professionals, so those that have kind of got to a point in their career where now they're really looking to settle down. They feel that they've established themselves in their profession and they're ready to look for a serious relationship and effectively settle down as such. The cost structure and revenue streams. So looking at this, a lot of the apps follow a very similar pattern today with the subscription model. And so we wanted to kind of shift how we would look at revenue for this, whilst it would be a subscription model, to obviously ensure that we could continue revenue, which would offset our costs. We wanted to actually reward the daters for going on real dates. So the whole idea is that we help to matchmake you, but you kind of go out there and you start to meet people. So with this, we want to allow people to be rewarded back financially, so they see that a gain in using us as a system, as opposed to other apps which kind of they charge you a subscription or additional premium features to kind of keep using and keep tailoring down the solution. We wanted to drive a different type of behavior and actually push for people to go out as opposed to keeping them maintained within the app. In terms of the cost structure, we'd be looking at some acquisition costs, development of the tool, customer service to support our users, particularly on safeguarding, to make sure that people are happy and feel safe within within this tool and system, and then payments. Being able to obviously take subscriptions does come at a level of cost. So lastly, looking at how we could build a team around actually supporting this business model and the product vision and direction that we want to go in. Some key functions that we would be looking at would be having a stream around acquisition or onboarding with a couple of teams based in there. Another stream looking at the matching experience, so how do we match people? And there are two key functions that support those two streams. One being machine learning for matching experience, so that we can understand better the user's behavior, what they match and engage with, and then start to tailor those even better and keep learning. And then for acquisition, we really need to understand pricing and subscription models. How do we make this work so that people are interested, they see the value, we acquire them, and then we go on to retain them. And this leads into our third stream around the actual dating experience. So keeping daters engaged, keeping them retained until they find that right match. So looking at how we price and subscribe is quite important. So a subset team that would support that. And then within the dating experience, also having a team that's really looking at the communication experience. So how do we actually drive more authentic communication as opposed to back and forth texting that can get a bit stale sometimes. And lastly, we have two other streams. So we have an enablement team, which would be data and BI. As we set those key metrics before that we talked from the lean canvas, those are incredibly important to allow us to actually understand what's going on and close the loop and effectively iterate to drive value for our clients with this platform. So data and BI would be incredibly important to us to make sure that we're actually getting the insights, learning from them, and feeding those back into the streams to actually go off and build and iterate so that we can improve, keep acquiring and keep retaining clients and users until they start finding their serious relationship. And lastly, the platform team would be something that we could look to break out into later. At the beginning, this wouldn't be necessarily required, but really driving into how we support on the different platforms for where we would have our tool running on, and making sure that we can set the infrastructure and that we've got the platforms optimized for the different experiences. So lastly, just to run you through how we went through getting from this kind of decision, this problem space, all the way through to understanding how we could actually build a team around delivering on that strategic roadmap, really focused on data and how we could push above that, over just my opinion of a problem space of going in, validating, making sure that looking at what the value was, and that value is driving into features.
So I'm just going to pause here just so we run over. Sorry, usually I'd run over by 5 minutes, but I've got another call straight after. But don't worry, this is a good time to stop anyway. Good. Okay. I'll just quickly go through feedback on the case study, and then we'll slow down and talk about some longer term things. I thought generally really good. That your style's generally very engaging and you're clear, which is really important. One thing, you remember I mentioned this in, I think it was when we did the hero's journey at the beginning. You did that tone of voice thing again. Right? I did that, and then I did this, which again undermines you. It's, it seems to come from a lack of confidence, I think, at the start. You stopped as soon as you stopped this after the first 2 minutes, back to confident statements with a firm full stop at the end. So again, awesome style generally, but you did that lot in the hero's journey. Again, just something to work on. I think one action step I would give for you, anytime you're going to do maybe a presentation like this, just practice the first 2 slides, even the first slide. So you start well, confident, firm sentences, and then you'll probably carry on that way. Really,
I would normally practice.
Yeah, and obviously lack of practice with this. The problem, I thought this was excellent, really good context around, why this problem and not other problems. You were clear about what it was. You kept it quite brief as well. On your product discovery, interesting takeaways. I like that you referenced the examples. You mentioned even the board to show what actually are all these, these random notes that we're seeing. And, it's sort of showing the value of discovery with some surprising learnings there, which is really powerful. Blue Ocean. You sort of brushed over this, and I think this is actually super important in this case because it's so competitive. For example, you need to say like, why this differentiator? So like, why are we excited about this unique way that we're looking at this problem? Because again, if you're not excited, why are they going to be excited?
Yeah.
And you said something.
And I forgot what I'd put on.
Yeah. Again, obviously lack of prep. You said something that I thought was interesting. You said, as you can see, it's a crowded space. That is not obvious to somebody that has never seen Blue Ocean before. So always expect someone to have no idea what these frameworks are. So, talk about what is this Blue Ocean? Why is it important? It can literally be one single sentence. So, we wanted to map out where we saw a gap in the market. Here's where it's busy. Here's where it's not busy. And that's where we're going to get excited about. Really as simple as that. Roadmap, I thought excellent, really clear explanation of the outcomes and why you chose them, importantly. Lean Canvas was good. You said what it is and why it's important. And you went into detail on the things that are going to show this level of seniority that you're looking for, right? Which is unique value proposition, right? How we capture market, and then unfair advantage, how we protect that market, as well as revenue. So great, you did that. I would only say, don't just name drop what terms like network effects, like talk through what that actually looks like in practice. And key metrics, stay high level. I would just focus on like one, let's say like, here's the key metric we're driving toward. Particularly in a presentation, people are just going to forget, or they'll be daydreaming or whatever. So try to stay really high level, just key points. I love that you mentioned differentiated revenue model as an option. Because again, this is such a competitive space, you need to show as many differentiators as possible. Unique value prop, we've got the revenue model, acquisition channels, right? All these different ways that we can stand out. And yeah, I think, in terms of, I was thinking before the call about feedback from the 8 weeks. In your case, it comes down to one thing. I think it's confidence. You've got proven results. You've got a very good strategic brain, a good analytical brain, exemplified by the content of many of these frameworks you've showed today, exemplified by the fact you did find differentiation in a busy market, right? That's really not easy to do, which is why I said, I thought it would be a lot harder for you to address dating as a market. But actually, you found your sort of your gap. You went with it. It's translated really nicely into a roadmap. So yeah, it's really just confidence, I think. that I don't know, any thoughts from yourself about sort of what you want to focus on? And obviously confidence also comes from going back over these frameworks, like stepping up with things like workshopping, stepping up with some of the like storytelling frameworks we covered.
Yeah.
Especially to it's just repetition and just trying things out really.
Yeah, I don't have like many opportunities, I feel, to really run through this sort of stuff on a not obviously a daily basis, but really showcasing some of these pieces. I mean, I do it at a more granular level. I guess when I'm looking at a very specific kind of area that I'm focused on, I write like a product brief and talk about the problem space, the data, and what the solution could look like to address it. But typically don't do those in presentations because people don't always give much input, and so I started just sending them around in like docs for people to then read and collaborate in their own time, and then do like follow-up sessions to really address stuff if needed.
Yeah, but I'm not just talking about the case study. I think generally slight lack of confidence comes across. I don't know if that's fair, or maybe that's just in the context of Prod MBA. But yeah, the stage you're at now is like you've got like the bread and butter, right? The foundation's strong. Like I think it's now that shift from management into leadership is really like being the one that plants the flag, right? That gets people to buy into things rather than consensus so much as sort of, trying to manage what's already there. It's really sort of creating new value in different ways.
Yeah.
Good opportunity would be, hey, why don't you look for new areas of value in your like current business, for example? It might mean a new product, just be, some experiments you run, that kind of thing. It could be interesting. Good. We're gonna have to wrap up there. Yeah, as I said, you're a really good place. I think it's now just, I think, put your hand up, try new things, try and like add value rather than just manage what's already there. And yeah, I think you just keep coming back to these frameworks and principles and just trying to sort of apply as much as possible, really.
Yeah, I'm trying to start it again, but through a different one of the other problems. But it's a very wide one, like the house problem stuff. I'm struggling to define like an early niche to really go after. So
Okay, I think what to do. I've actually updated the week one. Remember, we sort of vaguely did hypotheses, but it wasn't clearly explained. Open the link I just sent you. It's a new version of that assignments board. What I'd like you to do then, fill in the first board about problem and niche definitions, and just send me a link or send me a screenshot, and I'll send you some feedback over the next week or so.
I've requested access for it, but yeah, it's so
right, it should be the public. Right, yeah, I've sent you the wrong one. I'll send it to you on Slack. The public.
No worries. I won't keep you talking, but yeah, it's something I'm just going to run through on try and work my way through this stuff because
do it in the background. Exactly. The more repetitions, the better you're going to get at this stuff. Really, it's as simple as that. Awesome. I'm going to have to hop off the other call, but yeah, I'm going to see. Great having you on the program, and yeah, do what you're doing. Keep applying this. Keep getting better at it. Just mastery comes really through repetition, as boring as it sounds. Yeah. It's very true. Awesome. I don't know if you're joining we'll send out invites, next week for the London meetup, I think 22nd, 29th of June.
Yes, provided it's not the same weekend that I'm away for my sister's hen do, I will be there.
Yeah, priorities for sure. Nice. So hopefully meet you in person then. Interested to see sort of what you've been up to in the meantime. But send through, as I said, that first exercise and I'll give you some feedback.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers, Kerry.
Bye.